What are we going to do?
I will alert the American people tonight what we're going to do in Cuba.
I honestly think that the quarantine is probably the best solution ever.
I think that's the worst.
I think we should do the quarantine. What do you mean attacking? Do you understand what we have at stake and what will happen if we attack Cuba?
Exactly. How do you even know the quarantine is going to be effective?
Yeah, but how do we know if they're not going to attack us?
Okay, shouldn't we have the quarantine before we attack and test it out? And then if that doesn't work, then maybe...
If that doesn't work, we won't have enough time for another airstrike.
We won't have time.
Yeah, they'll attack us before we attack them.
I'll let the American people know tonight my decision on national television.
Your decision, Mr. President. Can we know...
I know. That's my decision.
Can you tell us before you tell the people?
You have a television. You are an American. When he tells the American people, you are a part of it.
Yeah, but shouldn't we have the right to know first since we're part of his administration?
I am the commander-in-chief. I will make the decision. And you will hear about it tonight.
Okay, just tell us what time.
I'm really nervous.
Good evening, my fellow citizens. This government, as promised, has maintained the closest surveillance of the Soviet military buildup on the island of Cuba. Therefore, in the defense of our own security and of the entire Western Hemisphere, a strict quarantine on all offensive military equipment under shipment to Cuba is being initiated.
I knew you'd go.
All ships of any kind bound for Cuba, from whatever nation or port, where they're found to contain cargoes of offensive weapons, be turned back.
That's it. You see this?
This quarantine will be extended, if needed, to other types of cargo and carrier. We are not at this time, however, denying the necessities of life, as the Soviets attempted to do in their Berlin blockade of 1948.
So, like, all those CIA people, like, really died?
Unfortunately, yes.
But it's okay. I mean, like you said, they were more careful in the Cuban Missile Crisis, though.
Yes. Wait, so really wasn't it with the big pig? I mean, really wasn't it with the pigs?
No.
No, sweetie, it wasn't about pigs in a bay. Oh. Goodness.
So, what was Kennedy's, the rest of his term like?
Well, that Kennedy, he was a good fellow. He was a very good president, but his term was cut short. He was assassinated.
What? Why? What?
How? Oh my
By
God.
who?
Well, this is how the story goes. Oh my God, the president! Oh, Mr. Kennedy! Oh my God, the president! And that's just how the story went. It was really sad.
So, he didn't survive?
No, sweetie. He died.
Oh.
But before...
Sucks.
Not done. Really involved with the civil rights?
Yeah.
Yes, Kennedy was very involved with the civil rights. He was very good to those African Americans in that time. Well, he started out.
Even before John F. Kennedy became president, he was very involved in civil rights. In his campaign for presidency, Kennedy promised executive, moral, and legislative leadership to combat racial discrimination. He also, during the 1960 campaign, fought hard to get Martin Luther King released from prison. When John F. Kennedy became president, he appointed an unprecedented number of African Americans to office, including Thurgood Marshall, who became a federal judge. Over the next couple of years, Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy would both work very tirelessly to improve civil rights for all Americans. Sadly, Martin Luther King came to the same fate as John F. Kennedy in 1968, 5 years after John F. Kennedy died.
Black power, everybody. What the?
Got them. KKK. People shouldn't vote.
We need equal rights.
Yeah!
We need to go to the same schools.
Yeah!
We need the same education.
Yeah!
We need the voting rights.
Yeah!
We need peace within us, guys. Come on. Hey, anybody have anything to say? Come up here.
I'm coming!
That's it. Give it up for her, folks.
Yeah! Everything that men have! Yeah! Not more! Yeah! I want exactly what he has! I want too! Just as much money for how much I work! Right! Right! I want the opportunity to go to college like every other man in
Yes,
the
she does. Yes, she does.
Yeah! I also want the opportunity to walk down the street and not be looked at as if I'm a sack of meat. I don't want to be just a woman who sits inside and cleans my house and cooks for my husband and my children. No. Do you? No! I want to go out and work and be a provider fighting for my family just as my husband is. Together, united as one, just as God has intended. Together!
Let's go, guys. Let's go. Come on.
I was not brought on this earth to just cook and clean for my husband.
Yes, you were.
No, she
You
wasn't.
should be cleaning.
Hey, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here? You're a man. You're at a women's protest. That's pretty sad.
Hey, they're equal too, buddy. Get out of here.
Come on.
Let's go.
Come
Someone
on,
get him
go
out of here.
come
Get him
on.
out of here.
Go clean my house.
Because you have a male part that I'm
Clean my house.
He was a great man, and now look at everyone. We're all equal.
Wasn't he also involved in the Vietnam War too?
Oh yes, President Kennedy was involved in many things. The Vietnam War.
The Vietnam War first began in 1959, 5 years after the division of the country by the Geneva Accords. Vietnam had been split into two, with the communist government in the north under Ho Chi Minh and the democratic government under the south under Diem. Ho launched a guerrilla campaign in South Vietnam led by the Viet Cong units, with the goal of uniting the country under communist rule. The United States, seeking to stop the spread of communism, trained the Army of the Republic of Vietnam and provided military advisors to help combat the guerrillas. In August 1964, a U.S. warship was attacked by North Vietnamese torpedo boats in the Gulf of Tonkin. Following this attack, Congress passed the Southeast Asia Resolution, which allowed President Lyndon B. Johnson to conduct military operations in the region without a declaration of war. On March 2, 1965, U.S. aircrafts began bombing targets in Vietnam, and the first troops arrived. Commanded by General William Westmoreland, U.S. troops won victories over Viet Cong and North Vietnamese forces in the valley that summer. Following these defeats, the North Vietnamese avoided fighting conventional battles and focused on engaging U.S. troops in small unit actions in the sweltering jungles of South Vietnam. In January 1968, the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong launched the massive Tet Offensive. Beginning with the assault on U.S. Marines, the offensive included attacks by Viet Cong on cities throughout South Vietnam. Though the North Vietnamese were beaten back with heavy casualties, Tet shook the confidence of American people and the media who thought the war was going well. As a result of Tet, President Lyndon B. Johnson decided not to run for re-election and was succeeded by Richard Nixon. Nixon's plans for ending U.S. involvement was to build up the Army of the Republic of Vietnam so that they could fight the war themselves. As this process of Vietnamization began, U.S. troops started to return home. The withdrawal of U.S. troops continued and more responsibly was passed to the Army of the Republic of Vietnam, which continued to prove ineffective in combat, often relying on American support to hold off defeat. On January 27, 1974, a peace accord was signed in Paris ending the conflict. By March of that year, American combat troops had left the country. After a brief period of peace, North Vietnam recommenced hostilities in 1974, pushing through the Army of the Republic of Vietnam forces with ease. They captured the Saigon on April 30, 1975, forcing South Vietnam to surrender and reuniting the country.
The Vietnam War. It was horrible. It was a failure. Oh, thank God old Grampy came back from that.
Thank God.
So wait, that was it?